Welcome to Chicago Bulls Chat with C-Red UK. This podcast is part of the Fans First Sports Network. Wherever or however you're listening, make sure to rate, review and subscribe. It helps us out and means you never miss another episode. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave some comments for us to get back to. And for all the C-Red UK action, check out the Discord channel and across the socials. Now, over to your hosts, Matt Hearn and Neill Dunn.
Welcome back. I'm Matt, and as usual, joined by Neill. How are we doing, Neill?
Yeah, I'm okay, actually. I seem to slip back into the staying up to watch a game and continue with normal life the day after. Okay. What about you?
Yeah, I wouldn't say okay. I was absolutely knackered yesterday, but that's due to the fact that I start work stupidly early and do 15-hour days.
This is true.
And that was the same again today. And hopefully tomorrow's a shorter day because then it's the weekend. And yeah, got a busy weekend, including a Bulls game. So,
yeah.
And obviously, like you just mentioned, we've fell back into this routine of getting up early. Midnight tip, well, 12:15 tip by the time they've done everything they need to do. Against obviously Cleveland Cavaliers, and it was the first game on the new CHSN network on it, which not a lot of people like.
It's not coming across too popular so far, anyway.
No, I mean, there was one good thing I noticed with League Pass was I didn't get any game breaks.
True.
So that was good. I don't know if that's their fault or if it's the way the stream comes through, broadcast, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Stacey and Adam. Well, Adam wasn't there, was he? It was Mark Szymanski.
No,
because Adam's probably over here in London with Tim Sinclair and ready for the Bears game this weekend. So for us, nothing really changed. But I know if we've got any American listeners, they're not happy.
No.
Because they've gone back in time needing an antenna to watch it. And I noticed one of the biggest complaints was the scoreboard.
Yeah, the score bug, isn't that what they call it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw one person described it as a banner hanging from the rafters in the corner of the screen. But the worst thing about it was that it actually cuts out play. Like it actually covers players in the top left-hand corner.
Yeah, no shot clock either, was there?
No.
So, I mean, for the most part, it was the same, but different.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the same can be said for the Bulls' performance.
Very much.
Yeah. See what I did there?
Yeah, I see what you did. That was clever. Clever play. Yeah. Professional.
Obviously, yeah. Obviously, Bulls ran out 116, 112 winners, but the first half, it was not good.
No.
And to be honest, if the starters and the main rotation pieces from both teams played as they are going to in the regular season, that's a blowout win for Cavs.
Well, it was certainly heading that way, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can see on my little tag there, Swiss cheese defense. That's what it was. I mean, there was holes everywhere, and they were being exploited, especially by Evan Mobley. I mean, he just had the run of the floor. He had the defenders turned inside out, basically.
I mean, we were, what was the halftime score?
Was it down 13 points or something?
67-54 in Cavs' favour. That was at halftime. I don't know what the rest of the stats were, but when you look at the stats, I mean, it's a preseason game. You're going to take what you want to take out of it.
Yeah.
And obviously, through like on the socials, people have got very high and people have got very low, especially about individuals rather than the team.
Yes. Yeah.
And like I say, stat-wise, the game was a lot closer when you look at it. Even the 3-point game was closer than it looks because, like I say, it's different, but also the same because we still can't hit a three. I did have the stats up, but they've gone. We, I think we were 8 of 40, and they were 10 of 43 or something like that. 2 seconds, I'm getting back up now. And yeah, where are we? Yeah, we were 8 of 40, and they was 10 of 48 from 3.
Okay.
So accuracy-wise, weren't that far off them. And I think it was just basically players who were trying to get in the game, trying to get in the rotation, just chucking threes up. And
yeah,
the rest of the stats a lot closer. I mean, you'd think we were out rebounded heavily the way we didn't seem to be able to get a rebound, but they only got one more rebound than us. But what kind of won us the game, I think, was our obviously second string of players.
Yeah,
because the game become very scrappy. But we were getting out on the fast break in that second half, and that's what won us the game. Points off turnover, we smashed them and stuff like that. Like I say, it's pre-season, so
yeah,
it's a win's a win. Happy with that. But when you look into some of the individual performances, again, some of the players are coming off obviously injuries since January, not played a game. Some are fighting for a spot in the rotation. Lonzo Ball still didn't play.
We knew that going in, though, he wasn't going to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I heard was it's not the injury, it's the COVID bout that he had a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was, that's knocked his preparation, his fitness back a little bit, whatever. Is likely to be playing Saturday, apparently. Obviously at the UC, so yeah, in front of the Bulls fans, great. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think I think it's in his best interest, because if he comes to play and his fitness levels aren't up because of the COVID, or he's not going to play at 100%, all he's doing is he's putting the noose around his own neck, really, by trying to play.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what my worry is with him, and what I've said all along is we can't prepare prepare for a game with a big what if of Alonso hanging. We can't go into a game thinking, right, we've got Lonzo tonight, we're going to play this way, and then the next night, oh, we haven't got Lonzo, so we can't play that way, so we're going to have to do this, and it's just messing the whole rotation up, isn't it?
But is that not the point of bringing someone that is like Lonzo in through Giddey, so that whether it's Lonzo or Giddey on the floor, that they can still technically play the same kind of style?
Yeah, but we've seen all the comments about Giddey all over the socials, and and that's, like I say, people are taking things too high, too low on the individuals. I mean, if you look at the starters, I think the starting lineup was as expected: Giddey, Coby, Zach, P. Will, and Vooch. And I think the only one that really come out with any kind of praise was Coby.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, team high for points at 21. His assists and his rebounds dropped, which that's what we said last week when we kind of see that's how it's going to go. For me, played too many minutes for game one of preseason. We know what Coby's capable of, and we don't need to see him in for that many minutes. I mean, he ended up with nearly 25 minutes, which we know he can put the minutes in because he did last year.
Yeah.
Why, now everyone's saying we didn't see enough of Ayo. Ayo should be starting. And it's like, well, who do you start Ayo over? And obviously the answer seems to be Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
And Bulls fans, or a lot of Bulls fans, just don't seem to rate Giddey. And all they've seemed to have done since game one is highlight his flaws, which we already knew was there. His defense. which, I mean, I saw a video going around where someone had highlighted him on a defensive play, but all it did was highlight how poor the team were at defense, because they was all out of position. There was about 3 of them trying to grab a rebound that wasn't even there, which left the Cavs players around the arc to shoot threes. Nobody was closing out. That's not Giddey. That's everybody. Because then Giddey was a team high in blocks at 2, and he grabbed a steal as well. So he can do it if he needs to defend. I mean, his 3-point shooting, yeah. But again, the whole team were bad at 3-point shooting.
Right. Apart from Zach hit a couple of nice threes.
Yeah, I mean, Coby ended up with the most threes. I think was he 3 of 8 or something like that. Ayo come in and hit a couple. But yeah, I mean, the starters to me weren't great. Giddey, third quarter, kind of picked it up a little bit. Got a couple of coast to coast, didn't he? And team high in well, it was not team high in rebounds, but he got 7 rebounds, which obviously for the guards was the highest. It was only Smith and Vooch that got higher. Yeah, Vooch. I mean, you're not writing anybody off after preseason game 1, but you also want to see what you want to see from him. And I'll let you speak about your guy, P. Will.
Oh, yeah. Just glaze over Vooch really quickly and bring it straight into that. But first of all, I want to say something about Vooch. I don't think I've ever seen a Bulls player in recent years look less interested in being on the floor than Vooch looked the other night. But yeah, lazy passes, lazy movement, sloppy screens. He just looked disinterested. Anyway, that's Vooch, and if that's what we're going to be seeing from him, I hope that he slides out of the rotation, which isn't going to happen. So I'm dreaming there, but
nobody else.
Not really, but there is a sort of an alternative there. It's just not great. It's not ideal, but
there was a thing that come out, wasn't there, about P. Will possibly playing some 5.
Apparently, Billy had said that he was entertaining the idea of using P. Will at the 5 to go small ball. But to be perfectly honest with you, and this is what you're trying to get me to do, Patrick Williams put out such a poor performance. Well, that's a lot of P's, isn't it? Patrick Williams put out such a poor performance that he was lucky to see any more floor time, let alone be slid down to the 5. I mean, it's like I said in a tweet afterwards or during the game, I can't remember. And I said, it's getting harder and harder to say that P. Will is my guy because, look, he's back from an injury. He hasn't played since, January? You can't expect too much from him in game 1, but I still expected more than what I saw. And he didn't look good. He didn't look comfortable. He definitely didn't look like the defensive player that we've always at least said, well, at least he can play defense. He didn't look like, the big thing about Patrick Williams was from his rookie year, we said you could put him up against the best player from any team and he can defend them. But even that seems to be gone. I don't know. He doesn't seem to be moving his feet. He doesn't seem to be getting his angle in the right position. He's not staying in front of the players. It's just, Patrick has got an awful lot to prove this year for a lot of fans, a lot of people. And even I said it's his turn to either shit or get off the pot. Well, at this stage, I'm ready to get off the pot. But it's one game. It's one game. I'm going to at least give him preseason before I start to critique him too heavily. But it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Yeah, I mean, he actually only played 13 minutes. And
there were 13 painful minutes.
Yeah, and we don't know if that's due to the fact they are bringing him back from the injury. I mean, they're doing the same with Zach, but Zach played 18 minutes. So You know, I mean, they've had the similar sort of time out. I know different injuries and stuff like that, but you know, Giddey, he was also out injured. He played 21 minutes. So, you know, you can look at it that way, or you could look at it as Billy's already seen enough and take a seat, Pat. Let's talk about this, and we'll go again, shall we?
Yeah.
But like you say, it was. First play of the game, dribbled it off his foot,
Butterfingers.
and then, you know, brick to three.
Mm.
It, just wasn't good. And I mean, even for me, who, like I've always said, I'm not out on him, but I'm not high on him. That's not even what I'm used to seeing from him. Do you know what I mean?
No, it was underwhelming.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, like we've just said, it's preseason. You're not writing anybody off at this point.
No.
Especially after one game. Maybe after 5 games, you look at it a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, that was the starters. None of them particularly stood out, I don't think. Coby, yeah, but I don't even think Coby was amazing. I think there was a few sloppy plays from him. But obviously, in our Discord, after every game, we get people to put their top 3 Bulls. And a couple of people have put Coby in it. For us personally, all 3 of ours were off the bench.
Yes.
And I think that's a sign of how the game actually went.
Yeah, totally.
And because the bench seemed to play how Billy has said he wants them to play. Scrappy defense and fast on the break. You know, the first player off the bench was Ayo.
Yes.
And, I mean, we only saw 16 minutes out of him. But he come in, grabs a steal, hits a 3. You know, and this is where people are now saying, obviously, Ayo should be starting. But like I've said when we spoke about Ayo, and obviously the fact that I put him as our player to watch, to me, that's, as it was with Caruso, that's his perfect role, is off the bench. I think he's not particularly, he doesn't bring one thing, he brings a lot of things. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I mean, we've seen him take this step as a bit more vocally and as a defensive sort of thing. So you can kind of say that's what gets him in the starting lineup. But as we've always said, this whole thing with the starting lineup, it doesn't matter. Ayo could go out there and play 27, 28 minutes off the bench, which could be more minutes than Josh Giddey gets anyway.
Yeah.
In some games. So just the fact that he's coming off the bench, it's not a demotion in any sort of way. Sometimes that role suits a player better. And I think Ayo is the perfect player to come off the bench because he does bring the energy. He can hit a 3. He's a solid enough defender. And we saw that as soon as he came in. He changed. I mean, what were we? We were 12 down, something like that, when he's come in. I know we went 8 down and then got a couple of buckets. And then when he come in, it just seemed we caught up with him again, didn't we? And then when he went off, it dropped again. So like I say, I can see why people are saying start him. But I think he proves that he can do it from the bench. And that's probably his best position.
At the moment, as it stands with the squad that we have, yeah, I think so too. And I think if Ayo plays the way he did and can going through the season, there is potential for him to be in the conversation for the 6th man.
Which is what one of my bold predictions was.
Yeah.
Or Bulls fans will at least be calling him for him to be in it anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, aside from Ayo, I mean, Ayo didn't actually make it into our top 3, but I think that's just because he didn't play enough for it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think our top 3 were the same, but in a slightly different order.
I think so.
We both went with Buzelis as our bull of the game, which he won. Then I went Jalen Smith and then DT, and I think you put them 2 the other way around, didn't you?
I think I did in the end, but it could easily have gone either way.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll obviously talk about the debut performance from Matas Buzelis. Now, obviously, I've had my doubts, shall we say, and I was impressed by him. He was another one that come on and he just changed the whole pace of the game.
Mm-hmm.
He added that energy. His attitude is just, I think, what it is that gets him on the court as well. And he was probably one of the best defenders when he come on as well.
Yeah,
Blocked
he
a
was.
shot. Did try and block another one, but it went down as goaltending. And I think his size is difficult for people to deal with. I mean, what is he, 6'10"? But he can move his feet as well.
Yes.
Which I think that's what they struggle with. I mean, what did he end up with? 12 points. 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. So he's doing a bit of everything. I mean, you want to see some of them numbers possibly go up a little bit. Maybe the sort of the assists, possibly. But for a rookie, first game at this level, solid.
Yeah, he looked good. He looked comfortable. He looked like he fit in, and he looked like he had the right level of aggression about his play. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing I constantly keep saying that I don't understand is obviously how high Bulls fans are on him, and the one flaw he's got to his game is the one thing that irritates Bulls fan about pretty much every other player, and it's his 3-point shot. I mean, he went none of 2, which, all right, 2 attempts, it's not a lot, but I mean, the thing is, they weren't bad shots, were they?
No.
From what I remember, I think he at least hit the rim. He didn't airball
and
like
I think
Zach
the second
and
one was
Giddey,
the right. I think the second one he took was the right choice. It was the right shot selection.
Yeah. But hopefully it'll come. I mean, he got a couple of. Did he get a couple of sort of mid-range? Didn't he? And then you get the highlight dunks. Yeah, you get the highlight dunks out of him.
Yeah,
stuff like that. But for me, the most impressive thing with him was his defense.
Yes.
And the last play, or the last couple of plays in particular, was for me the one that stood out the most. I think it was, is it Craig Porter, the guard from Cavs, second-year player.
Mm-hmm.
Got plenty of minutes last year, probably plans on getting plenty more this year. And he's, well, on the arc, bang in front of the rim money. And Buzelis pushed Taylor Horter out of the way, didn't he?
I didn't catch that, actually. I didn't realise he pushed him out of the way.
Yeah, and
we'll get onto him in a minute.
Yeah. And then I think Tristan Thompson was coming over to screen, and Porter told him to go away as well, because he wanted to just basically go one-on-one. And Buzelis didn't bite. He stayed down, didn't foul, and he forced the shot, basically.
Yeah.
And Bulls eventually did rebound it, which then led to Dalen Terry getting fouled and a couple of free throws, which is something I'm going to speak about in a minute with DT. But yeah, for me, that was the most impressive play from Buzelis. All the highlight plays, they stand out, but it was that one that stood out the most to me.
Yeah, he didn't overcommit. He closed them out without putting himself into a position where he'd left the floor and could get burned. But he also created enough difficulty in the shot that it worked. It worked well. It was not the kind of thing I expected to see from a rookie, if I'm honest. It showed more experience than he has. So it proves that he has a basketball brain and an IQ for the game.
Yeah. We'll quickly cover Jalen Smith. I don't think he was fantastic, but he just seemed to do everything right. And he got a sneaky double-double. Was it 11 points, 10 rebounds, something like that? Which But he was on the end of a couple of highlight plays as well, wasn't he?
He was.
I think he was on that double dunk, wasn't he? He got the
Yeah.
end of the lob. He was solid enough defensively he didn't overcommit anywhere. He didn't undercommit anywhere. He just like you've got to go across the bottom. Fits in well.
It fit him well, yeah. He took a couple of bad shots, but I mean, that aside, he affected the game, and that's what we want to see. We want to see players affecting the game in a positive way, and I think he did that for the most part. I mean, I didn't expect to be coming away from the game kind of going like, I actually quite like Jalen Smith. I thought he was going to be a bit of a nothing entity, but no, actually, I really enjoyed his game, and I hope to see more of it. It could have been a one and done. It could have been a fluke, but we'll see. I'm interested to watch him now. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he's your guy now, isn't he?
No,
Not
not yet, not yet.
Maybe
But he's on my
Saturday.
radar. Maybe after Saturday. He's on my radar. I need a new guy. Like, come on. I've stood by Pat for so long, and all he's done is let me down and left me brokenhearted. So unless Pat can suddenly start to turn it on, I'm going to have to find somebody else. I mean, we're sharing DT, right? So.
Well, you'll be on next week's pod with some goggles on, won't you know?
All right, but yeah, you never know.
And yeah, two more players that really stood out to me was Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry. And this is like we've actually spoke about this.
I know.
Which we actually haven't.
No.
Now, I think with these two, they're basically battling it out for that sort of last rotation spot for Billy.
Yeah.
And I don't think either of them particularly disappointed. Not in this game anyway.
No.
And if that's how Billy's going to play it, you know, one night is Dalen that gets that spot on the more minutes, and the next night is Julian, then I think they both kind of offer a lot of similar attributes in the fact that high energy, quite happily get out, fast, solid enough defensively to make an impact. And yeah, I mean, for me, DT had a better game than Phillips.
Yeah, I agree.
Phillips played for 25 minutes, whereas DT only got 18, which, you know, obviously that kind of made you think that Phillips is ahead of DT, but maybe it's because of his injury as well that Billy wanted an extra look at him. He already maybe knows what DT can offer. As we keep saying, it's preseason, not a lot you can say. I mean, Phillips ended up with 9 points, 4 rebounds, 1 block. Now, if you change that name for Patrick Williams, that stat line wouldn't look out of place, would it? From Phillips.
True.
You know, especially the rebounds. But, I mean, for me, the thing with Phillips is if he's not on a highlight play, it looks like he's not out there. And that's not a knock on him. It might sound like it is, because he is very capable of the highlight plays. Yeah. But what I mean is you don't see the other things that he actually does. If it's not a highlight, if that I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense in my
head. It does make sense. No, it makes sense. I know what you're trying to say. You know, the other bits and pieces that he does on the floor kind of get left by the wayside. It's only the highlight plays that stand out to people.
Yeah, and I think
and something similar happens with DT.
Yeah, and that's the thing for these sort of young players, isn't it? Is they have to stand out, and what people don't see is the stuff that doesn't stand out, and that's when people start saying, "Well, you can't do this, you can't do that." Whereas if you watch the games, they can. Just because Bulls don't put out a little video clip of the small things they do, or you know, anything like that, it's I mean, what did you sort of think of J-Pip?
Yeah, like that. I enjoyed what he brought to the floor. I'm all about guys that come on with energy, and he does. And he looked fine. He looked perfectly capable. I can understand why he was left on the floor. He was impacting the game enough. He was creating enough opportunities on the floor. And like that, I think you're right. I think Billy kind of already knows what he has in DT to a certain degree. So he gave Julian Phillips a little bit longer on the floor to try and get a bit of an assessment of him, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we've said about Phillips in the past is we want to see that 3-point shot. I mean, he did hit one of 3, which is not great, but you see, one thing I've always said with him, he knows where to be. I don't think he's got a high basketball IQ as such, but he's got the IQ there to know where to be on the floor.
He understands the game enough and understands the rotations and the schemes.
Yeah, because he just always seems to be in the right place, whether it's for the catch and shoot, defensively, whatever it happens to be. And I think that's what gets him on the floor. The rest will start to come. We know he's going to get up for highlight blocks, highlight dunks. I mean, I think he was the other part of the double dunk, wasn't he, with Jalen Smith? So,
showing Torrey Craig how to do it properly.
Who sat on the bench all night and watched it. So
he did.
And then obviously DT, the last one, we'll give some real airtime to.
Well, the one thing I'll say about DT, if you're lumping him in with Julian Phillips, is they both play similar enough. I think J Pip is a little bit more athletic than Dalen is, a little bit more aerial, but Dalen is a bit better at distributing the ball and making plays for others than Julian Phillips is. And I think he did plenty of that when he was on the floor. I mean, at one point, it felt like Dalen was nearly the point guard on the floor. It felt like he was running the show, which I loved watching. I loved seeing that side of it. Until THT came on and took over. But yeah, no, Dalen looked good. He looked impressive. He looked comfortable and solid, and he looked like we hoped, which was that he has developed his game that little bit further.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, DT, he got 18 minutes, 6 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, which was a team high in assists, 2 steals, and he was, I think, second in plus minus at 15. We only saw 1 3-point attempt from him, which it didn't go in. But I think if you actually watch the games and you actually watch DT, which I know we maybe watch him a bit closer than some of the others because of obviously we're wanting him to be, the most improved sort of thing, and he does enough to get himself on the floor without the need for the 3-point shot. Now, I understand players need the 3-point shot in this modern age NBA, which I've said before does my head in. And unfortunately, that's how people judge players now, is first and foremost. Yeah. Now, for me, I kind of liken DT to what they call the grinder in ice hockey, which, if anyone doesn't understand that, it's basically a player who's not particularly the most skilled offensively, but they're out there to do a job. They're out there to make things awkward for the opposition. They're out there to hustle. They're out there to put the hits in. They're out there to just disrupt the opposition. And I think that's kind of what DT does. I think he can be a very good offensive player. Like you said, his distribution. I mean, he come in as a point guard, didn't he? That was how he's coming to the league. I've said I think he fits more of a 3 now. But we're also in an era of positionless basketball.
Yes.
And I think that helps DT because it's basically a Javonte Green replacement. And Bulls fans love Javonte Green.
Right.
Now, Javonte could possibly go 1 of 3 from 3. But Bulls fans didn't write him off. Bulls fans loved him. because he gave you energy, gave you defense, he gave you highlight plays. And I think DT is more than capable of doing all of that.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have DT putting up a little bit of everything than a lot of one thing, if that makes sense. If people want to see him putting up however many points because they want to see him hit the three and blah, blah, blah. But I'd rather see him just stuff every stat, basically. Do you know what I mean?
A jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, like he did the other night. You want to see his points go up slightly or whatever, but to me, you just got to watch him because he just seems to me like he's an awkward player to play against because of his size and his hustle, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, them last few players we spoke about, they were the ones that excited us the most. Obviously, we did see a lot of players who they're battling, shall we say. I mean, we didn't see E.J. Liddell or Kenny Lofton Jr. Didn't see Torrey Craig. Didn't see Javon Carter.
Jog on Carter. No.
Yeah. But we saw a lot of Taylor Horton Tucker.
Yep.
And it was like watching Andre Drummond again.
On steroids. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. You knew with Drummond you were going to get a few minutes of solid play and then the chaos would start to kick in. And we used to always say that Billy needed to know when enough chaos was enough and to pull him, but then put him back in again. Taylor Tucker came on and it was just chaos from start to finish. He just seemed to be involved in every single play, whether he was meant to be or not.
Yeah.
It was just like a freight train just running through everything. And that's why I said, like, there on the banner, more like TNT than THT, because you just exploded all over the place. Pause.
I mean, he's also the oldest looking 23-year-old anybody has ever seen.
That dude ain't 23. He's lied somewhere along the lines. He's falsified his birth cert, I reckon.
I mean, 17 and a half minutes, 8 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. I mean, he was 4 of 11 from the field, which is just chaos, wasn't it?
It was just mental. But it was. Do you know what? It was the epitome of what has been talked about, of this fun, bad basketball. That's what it was. That's what it was.
I mean, obviously he is battling for that 15th spot, and to me, my first thought was, because he got a lot more minutes than Bittim.
Bittim was underwhelming, to be fair.
Yeah, but again, coming back from injury, spent most of the off season laid on his stomach, apparently. Randomly. And it kind of made me think: is Billy trying to look at THT because he's the front runner for that 15th spot? He's the one with the most NBA experience. He's young but doesn't look it, which fits AK's profile for recruitment. So
true.
And at the end of the day, he's actually an NBA champion as well, which nobody can take away from him, as much as it's asterisks next to it. But I mean, it was an NBA player going against G League players, really, wasn't it, at that point?
Yeah, I suppose it was. Yeah.
And he didn't particularly do anything that you kind of go, I want that guy on my team. But it was fun.
It was. It was about 7 minutes of just madness. and it all resulted in THT, Tucker, Taylor Horton Tucker. It was just out there all the time. It was like I don't know how to explain it other than for anybody that didn't watch it, go back and just watch it from where he comes in and just watch. It was just madness. It was great.
Thing is, he just seemed to be in for absolutely ages as well, didn't he? They were rotating around him, and it was just like he's still out there, just barreling his way through, getting in the way of Bulls players and anybody that was there. It was like, no.
Anyone. It wasn't like he was playing the Cavs. He was playing against the Bulls and the Cavs. It was just it was 1v9.
Yeah. I mean, we did see, like I say, Bitim, Duarte, Stewart, Sonogo, kind of. And I mean, there's not to write home about from any of them, was there?
No.
Garbage time more than anything.
Really
So yeah, that's it for that game. Like I say, we are back on. Well, we're not, but Bulls are back on Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, Sunday morning for us, 1 a.m. tip. Back at the UC. What do you want to see from that game?
The players in the top left-hand corner. You know the scoreboard. Yeah. Sorry. What I want to see. That joke. What I want to see is kind of more of the same, but with a little bit more out of the starters for a shorter period of time. If that makes sense. I don't want to see as much of the starters on the floor, but I want to see more from them when they are on the floor.
Yeah, I get what you mean. More cohesion, I guess, between them.
Yeah, and more impact.
Look like they actually are a team that haven't just been thrown together and come back from injuries and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Plus, I want to see Dosunmu get any time. I do want to see what he looks like out on the floor, and I'd also like Vooch to realize that
he's playing.
Like it's preseason, but it started now.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Chances are we do see Lonzo, which, like I've said, just to me messes up the rotations and. But if we're going to see some Alonso, then hopefully we see less of Giddey because it's pre-season. I'm not saying that's how I want to see it moving forward, but for this game in particular, for me, I want to see the players that we've just spoke about that excited us the most. I want to see them not necessarily get more minutes, but get more minutes against the better players on Grizzlies.
Right.
Rather than going up against the G League players or the players who are just in the training camp to make the numbers up and give the starters a rest. Especially with Buzelis. I want to see, I'm not saying I want to see him start, like a lot of people are saying, over P. Will or whatever. But I want to see him in a lot earlier and going up against legit NBA competition. Just to see how he does. Because I'm not saying I want to see him destroy his confidence or anything like that, which I think would be very, very hard to do.
I do, yeah.
But I just want to see how he reacts to it.
Yeah.
And if he can still be the player that he was the other night, which predominantly was against lesser opposition. I mean, he did get some minutes against the higher level of opposition, but yeah, I mean, I think Grizzlies are fallen back into that injury problems, aren't they, as well? So God knows what sort of team we see turn up for this one.
This is true. It'll be piecemeal.
Yeah, Ja Morant went over on his ankle the other night. I can't see him risking him, to be fair, not at this stage.
Absolutely not. And they'd be stupid to.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to see him out there, don't get me wrong, because I love watching Ja play.
Yeah.
When he does play. I hate watching him against us, but,
Yeah.
I think Jaren Jackson's struggling with an injury, possibly listed as out. I don't think he's played yet. But it'd be interesting to see Zach Giddey.
Yes. And,
I mean, especially going up against Vooch.
Yeah, well, seemingly I saw a picture of Zach Giddey there the other day, and I haven't watched him play or anything yet. But he has, he's looking like he's put the work in the gym anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what I'd like to see him go against Vooch, but I'd like to see what Jalen Smith can do. I'd rather see Jalen Smith get more minutes with the starting players as well, just in case that does become a thing in the regular season where he checks in a lot earlier. Which, I mean, do we see Twin Towers? Do we see Jalen Smith effectively put P. Will out with a rotation? You just don't know, do you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure I want to see that, to be honest. Not that because I'm saying save Patrick, but more so I don't know that Vooch works in a Twin Towers kind of scenario.
Vooch doesn't work.
Well,
you could have just stopped it there.
I suppose. Yeah. I mean, look, I've had time for Vooch in the past, but yeah, it's rapidly running out because I know this probably sounds contradictory when I say I like Patrick Williams, but I don't like players that don't look bothered.
Yeah.
I think Patrick Williams is bothered, but there's just still something in his head. But Vooch just isn't bothered. It's like he just doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And I've no time for that.
Yeah, I mean, I put in the chat yesterday that I think Vooch officially retires at the end of his deal. I think he's already retired in his head, but he officially retires at the end of this deal. Whether he's still at Bulls at that point, who knows? But anyway.
Who knows?
So, yeah, I mean, like I say, the next game against Grizzlies, you just want to see a little bit more of what we're going to see from Bulls, if that makes sense. I think, sort of with the way the rotations work and stuff like that, because it's all about building up now, innit? And
yeah,
I think Grizzlies have already played a couple of preseason games, so they're probably a little bit further ahead than what we are anyway. But
which probably means they're more likely to rest players too.
Yeah, or they have to.
Well, so. That too.
But yeah, I mean, I've got nothing else. I don't know if you have.
Nope. Bring on Saturday night. Let's get game 2 out of the way, and we'll have a little bit more to talk about then.
Yeah, I mean, we have also got Bucks on, is it Tuesday, I think?
I think so.
So that game could possibly have took place before we record again, but I mean, you can't look at that game before we've played this game, can we? So, because it's pre-season, we just don't know. So yeah, we will be back hopefully one point next week with a couple more games to talk about, a couple more players to talk about, and yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and all the good stuff. And also, don't forget to come and join us on the Discord where, we're kind of in our own little pre-season, getting back into it with polls and, like I said, the top 3 players and stuff like that. Yeah, as always, I've been Matt. Yeah, we'd never push anybody's comments out or anything like that. We enjoy the discussion. But yeah, as always, I've been Matt. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You can find me on Twitter at MattCRedUK, and you can find us on all the socials at CRedUK.
And you'll find me on Twitter at NeillCRedUK. On behalf of Matt and myself and the Fans First Sports Network, thanks once again to everyone for tuning in. Do remember, it's a Chicago Bulls thing wherever in the world you are. Until next time, see red people and go Bulls.
Help support the podcast and the brand at C-Red UK by heading to our merch site where you'll find a variety of designs on things like mugs, t-shirts and hoodies, including our Buzelis and Flop of the Fro, with plenty more designs still to come. Link is in the description.